to another episode of the Wadhwani Viewpoint podcast. My name is Manali Shah, and today's conversation is going to be all about startups. We have with us Gauri Malik, the founder and director of Sirohi. Sirohi provides income opportunities to women from marginalized communities in India by recognizing their existing craft skills and providing them with tech-based design support to create home and lifestyle products. Gauri started off as an investment banker but was much more excited by social entrepreneurship. Gauri, thank you so much for taking the time out to be here. We really appreciate it. Why don't you start off by telling our audiences a little bit about yourself and Sirohi?
Hi, thank you so much for having me on the show, and this is super exciting to talk about my journey because I could do it every day, and so I'm glad to be here. Quick background, so I am an investment banker turned social entrepreneur. So I come from this small town called Muzaffarnagar in Uttar Pradesh, where my parents sent me to boarding school when I was almost just six years old. In my home, I always saw my mother, when I would go back for the holidays, very dependent on my father. And this is something that would frustrate me a lot because I felt she was very creative. She had amazing skills to be able to use those skills to where she was creative in the form of craft, baking, cooking, and I felt she could use those skills to generate income for herself, right? Versus just asking my dad for money, whether it was to buy gifts for us or for the family or, buy groceries or whatever it is, right? And I think this is a challenge which a lot of women, whether you are in a small town, a big town, or even internationally, you face because just of lack of opportunities, right, for women.
Right.
And I would get really frustrated because I was like, why don't you just use your skills to do something? So growing up, I studied in Mumbai. I went to England for my master's, and I did my master's in finance and economics. And while I was there, also went to South America and worked with single mothers in Peru, in this small town called Trujillo, which is 8 to 10 hours from Lima, the capital of Peru. And I work with single mothers to help them get access to loans so they could start their own businesses, in the form of microcredit. And I think that's where my journey took a turn. And I realized that I could use my academic skills to do something more, but the sequential lifestyle that we have, I did go right after I came back from this experience in South America, and I worked with Deutsche Bank as a quantitative analyst for 3 to 4 years, and I worked in India and Tokyo. And after that is when I decided that I can't do this anymore, and this is very mind-numbing. The money is great, but it is super mind-numbing, and I needed my creative juices to flow, and I wanted to really, understand and fuel my passion, I guess, and do away with my frustration. So that's how, the whole concept of Skilled Samaritan started in 2012.
Okay, great. Let's talk a little bit more about that experience.
Yeah.
So at the age of 23, you started the Skilled Samaritan Foundation. You wanted to light up villages across India using solar power. And you did light up villages and schools and impacted 25,000 lives. But eventually, when you charged a small fee to the locals, you found that they began defaulting a few months down the line. So what I want to understand from you here is that when you decided to take a step back and evaluate how everything was going, how did you cope with that situation mentally?
I was so young, and this was my first stint in the development space. I know I always, and even now, I do what I do is because I want to create impact and I want to make a difference to the lives of those around me. And that ripple effect is for the lives of people around them. So the ripple effect is a lot bigger, right? And then I realized that if I'm trying to make a difference to somebody's life and I want to help them, and I wanted it to be a business model. I don't believe in charity. I do feel that, if you are healthy, you are mentally fit physically as well, then why can you not use, your physical or mental ability to be able to earn money for yourself, And that's when I realized that unfortunately in India, there is a section of people that leverage the fact that they're poor to get free things. And I think that backlash is something that I understood very early on as an entrepreneur, especially a social entrepreneur, because I realized that um, we were working to lighthouses, in areas where people did not have access to, electricity for no more than just 2 to 3 hours a day. So they were walking in the dark at night. They had no way to charge their telephone, their mobile phones, and we were telling them that, hey, you need to pay just like 1/10 the amount of what you pay on a monthly basis to light up your houses, whether it is with kerosene oil, whether it's with candles, whether it's with whatever, right? And you just pay, like, it was literally less than $1 a month. And they refused to pay it because they said, we are poor people. हमें तो free मिलना चाहिए ये. So I think that's where I took a step back, because I couldn't understand that how is it that people are not able to see, the value in what we're providing to them, and why is it that they're okay with free and, things like that. And I think that was very disappointing to me, to spend like a very early on, stage, very early on, spend time in your life to create impact and make a difference to people's life. But the backlash is from the community that you're trying to support. Right. And I think that's the time I took a step back, even though we created a huge impact and, we did all this. So, but it wasn't their problem. It was my problem, because my model wasn't strong enough. Right. And I was trying to give people what they possibly didn't want at that stage. And I think as people working in the social space, and I'll give you a simple example to help you understand what I'm saying, is that, when you walk into a restaurant and the waiter will offer you, sparkling water, tap water, and bottled water. Usually these are the three options, right? They don't even offer you tap water. They say sparkling or still, right? And they're both in the form of, bottles, which you pay for, right? But as somebody who's educated, I don't want to pay, those extra few dollars or, rupees for bottled water. I know that I'm okay with tap water, right? So I can ask for tap water. Similarly, when you go to villages and you say that, hey, you look around and say that, oh, they don't have electricity or they don't have water. You think that, oh, this is what they need, without asking these people, right? But if they knew that, hey, these people are here to support us and help us change our lives, maybe they might say that, hey, why don't you give us access to jobs? Why don't you help our women get skilled so they can earn money, right? But I think that was the mistake. I went there and saw that there was lack of electricity, so let me support them with light. But that's not what they needed. They needed access to jobs and like earn more money. They were happy to pay for their own light, whether it was 100 or 500 rupees. So I think that's where the mistake was. And while in the early years, I was very disappointed that, here I am helping this community and they're like not even willing to pay like, 1/10 of what they were paying. Like, what is wrong with the people? What is wrong with people? But I think that thinking flipped much later in life, and I understood that we were giving them something they didn't want. So it was good. It was good in a way.
Right, that's an important realization that I'm sure has helped you in your entrepreneurial journey. So on. So you mentioned a business model in your answer. So related to that, what are some of the elements that go into making a robust business model?
I think, whether you're a for-profit or a not-for-profit, a business is a business, right? I honestly am from the Banya community. So I've seen businesses. My dad was a businessman all my life. So I think, to me, having a business is only successful when you're able to scale it, right? And it totally depends on, what your ambition is and where you're planning to take it. Scalability with profitability, to me, is what are the two key points that I would take into account in, but for me to say that my business is successful, right? And when it comes to for-profit, for a social impact business, if I'm able to change lives with what I'm doing, that makes my business successful as well. With the product that I'm creating, is it creating incomes for people? Is it changing the life of somebody for the better? Access to better clean drinking water, helping the planet. So to me, I think like these elements are super important while having a successful business.
And in 2019, you relaunched, you started up again, you under the same banner of Skilled Samaritans, you launched Sirohi, which is, like I mentioned, a home and lifestyle products brand. So now, what did you do differently this time around to ensure success? And what is the difference between starting for the first time and starting up again, or pivoting for that matter?
Starting out again, I think being an entrepreneur just runs in my genes. I think I've gotten kicked out of every job that I've ever done, no matter how good or bad I was at it. And I think, I think it was a sign that you got to be an entrepreneur. And keeping jokes aside, I know that I'm very, very extremely passionate about making a difference. And I am very passionate. I won't say passionate, but I've got, and I sometimes people, I know what makes my blood boil. I'm generally an intuitive person, and I know that seeing that frustration of dependency of women, because I don't like it, that frustrates me, and I want to bring about a change. And I started with my inner circle. So I realized that if I can do what is helping me make a difference to my life every day, and if I could do that every day, then I would be a happier person, and that would help me as well. I think from a business point of view, right? So to me, a bunch of other factors of starting out again were that while I worked in 2012 with villages in Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, I kind of realized that during that time, there were all these amazing women, from these communities who had excellent craft skills. They could use, the whole charpai form of weaving to make beautiful, intricate beds. But the challenge was that they were making all of this for their communities, and they were still very traditional designs. Nobody nowadays uses charpais. It's a very defunct piece of furniture, except in villages, of course. And I said that if somebody had to take this weaving technique, create something which is more functional out of it, and be able to market it, to an urban audience, I think you're going to be reviving a heritage craft, and you're going to be creating income opportunities for women who are genuinely not educated. And this is the only way to create employment for them, because nothing else is possible. So that's the time. And that thought, I think, is what helped me revive Skill Samaritan, is that creating income opportunities for women. And that was the original thought from when I was 6 years old, to women like my mother who have amazing skills, mostly in craft, and to provide them with design support using technology. How you and I are sitting together, a designer is able to, and of course everyone has access to smartphones, right? So giving access to somebody on the other end of the screen who might be from a low income background, has amazing craft skill, conduct a simple design training for her, a master artisan, to be able to create a product, which is well designed, more marketable, using her own skills, and that can be sold, on an online platform, because everything is now digital, and and tech is booming. So just that's how we leverage technology, and that's how Sirohi was born. Because Sirohi is also the first village I started working at, so that is the namesake of the brand now. And and we say that we are a brand that has a story to tell, because every aspect of what we're doing has this background and story associated with it.
Wonderful. And when you started work on Sirohi, from a business model point of view, was there anything you did differently, and what were the factors that made you confident of success this time around?
I don't think I started with the point of being successful. I started with, I was very clear that I want to do this because two things: that I see potential of an amazing product being introduced to the market, because what I noticed at that point is that a lot of artisan made products were generally always pushed in this corner as, अच्छा ये तो NGO ने बनाया है, या तो ये तो बस किसी आर्टिसन ने बनाया है, ये तो एक्सपेंसिव नहीं होना चाहिए, ये तो चीप क्वालिटी का होगा. So that's how the mindset was. So there were just two things for me. One is like creating an excellent, beautiful product that was at par with urban global standards by artisans of India. And number two is making a difference to the lives of the women who had amazing skills. So that was my only 2 points of restarting what I did, is that I'm able to create a product that is able to sell money, that is able to sell and make money for the artisans, for myself. And so there's a business model to it. And the second is, and these women are working from their home, so there's impact created. So these were the only two things. And I think if I'm successful in doing these both these, I am successful, right? Maybe from my point of view, but let's say an investor point of view is different. But obviously, we're able to meet those standards too, just because of where we are.
Right. And your goal at Sirohi is to support thousands of women. And in the past, you've said that you don't want your brand to be driven by the impact narrative alone. There is the fact that the products that you create are well designed, are extremely high quality, are luxurious, are sustainable. So how did you ensure that your marketing strategy conveyed all of these aspects?
So honestly, I think I combined a lot of D2C brands in India are doing, who are creating a great product and leveraging digital performance marketing to be able to talk about their story in a very creative yet, powerful fashion. And I think that's what helped us. We didn't just talk about the artisan and this, and I always say that Sirohi is about the boss stories, not about the sob stories. And the moment you always noticed, like, artisan brands in India were always talking about how somebody came and uplifted a bichari aurat from her. No, these are like strong women who want to make a difference to their lives. So we just flipped the narrative and we spoke about how, how the women we work with are actually bosses, and we leverage the story of the artisan, of the product, and put that out there so that the narrative already was very strong, right? We didn't come across as the bechara artisan brand who is begging for money ki hamare products kharido, or we will get some money out of it. We were just like, no, we're making amazing products, so we are proud of the product we make. Our products are made by gangsters, who want to make a difference to their lives, and they're breaking barriers. And I think that's what that was our. It wasn't a strategy. I think we used the truth.
And over the past couple of years, you've collaborated with consumer brands, with international consumer brands such as Innisfree and Uniqlo, and you've collaborated with events such as Lakme Fashion Week. So could you share your learnings from that, in the sense that what should be the focus of a startup when they are collaborating with these global giants?
Absolutely. I think when you talk about collaborating with international brands, what they're looking for obviously is quality in the product, right? They want, because they are catering to consumers at every level, and they want their consumers to get a good quality product, right? So that's one. Number two is, there are lots of standards. There needs to be a certain level of professionalism. But I think collaborating, while everybody wants to collaborate with international brands, I think there's always a time to do it. When I think one is obviously you're confident of the product, you're confident of making volumes, because sometimes brands want volumes in a very short time, right? And the problem of entrepreneurs is that we're trying to make it so big so fast that it's very easy to fall and trip. So what you need to do is know what stage you're at and what is your ability to not over-promise and under-deliver. And that's something I learned very early on, because I too was that starry-eyed entrepreneur who wanted to collaborate at a very young stage with international brands, and we failed miserably. We delivered like broken products to a very high-level international brand very early on, just because we were able to get the partnership, but we weren't able to deliver. And that's when I realized how precious such partnerships are. So the 2-3 things that I worked on, is that always had one person managing, a partner relationship and being personally involved in that. Number 2 is, making sure the quality, and we always do what we can do, commit to what we can do versus, under-delivering. Oh God.
Completely get you. Yeah.
And so I think for us, and with international standards, they obviously have certain procedures, checks in place. You have to be patient. You can't be, say email nahi aayi hai, why is it not happening so soon? Because they have certain, they do have a pyramid structure. The way they operate, they do have certain standards they have to meet. They have certain procedures, documentation, certain certifications you have to have as a brand. So if you're claiming that you work with artisans and you're sustainable, brands will definitely ask you that, do you have any certifications to prove that? Have you done any audits? Have any audits been conducted on your brand to be able to say that you are certified fair trade or like sustainable, or you pay your artisans well? So I think those are some of the things that somebody should keep in mind before doing any international collaborations.
Right, that's very useful. And what should a startup do to hold its own when working with such big brands?
Obviously, I don't think you should succumb. I think you need to see value. Obviously, you are piggybacking on a much larger brand, right? So you have to sort of, I would say, come down, but you can't. I don't think you should let brands bully you. And some people are okay with anything because they get to partner with a larger brand. So I think you need to see, the opportunity cost of partnering with a brand. Like, is it going to give you like great marketing and visibility? Is it going to give you access to sales? Is it giving you access to some sort of skill or resources? So if you're able to understand that what is this partnership going to lead to, then you can say that, okay, maybe I reduce the prices, because if I give them like so many products at a much lesser price, then the marketing on their platforms is equivalent to the discount I might give them. Or so I think you need to weigh the the pros and cons and the ups and downs, but definitely don't let brands bully you into doing stuff, because that tends to happen. It's very common, because sometimes we're just, like I said, we're starry-eyed to just partner with a brand, and you don't realize when they're trying to get free things off you. So and sometimes businesses can't afford that, right? So absolutely. You just need to be a little careful of those things.
Right. And the last part to this question, how important would you say is partnerships as a tool for growth?
I am a big believer in partnerships, collaborations, because I think that there are two sides to it. Either there's performance marketing and you spend thousands of dollars on Facebook, right, Google and Instagram, or you can use a collaborative approach. And this is what we do at Sirohi. I don't think we have spent even 1% of, or less than 1% of our monthly sales on marketing spends. Unlike brands, we have an extremely collaborative sort of strategy where we partner with a lot of brands. We have 2 dedicated resources that only reach out to brands to find the most creative and strategic way to partner with them. That leads to either sales or brand awareness, or some sort of outcome for us, and even of course for the brand. So for us, I think it's absolutely important, and in fact, like, you should try partnering with not just brands that are just in your category, but explore, like, look at target audiences, like which brand's target audience might be relevant to you. Collaborating with another brand might lead to like marketing or like brand awareness for you. So I think spend some time doing that versus just shooting out BD emails. So that's something that we do very, very heavily at Sirohi.
Amazing. That's great to hear. And I'm sure a lot of the people who are tuning in will have a lot to take away from your experience, whether they are in the B2C space, B2B, or they're aspiring social entrepreneurs. I think the learnings remain the same. And I'm sure this has been super helpful. So once again, thank you so much for your time, Gauri.
My pleasure, Manali. This was super awesome. I generally look better than this, I promise.
No, it's great to give people an unfiltered view into the life of an entrepreneur. Yeah, and especially women who are juggling 10,000 things. You have a lot going on at the moment, I'm sure. So we really value this time that you've taken out.
No, absolutely. I love it. Like I said, I love talking about Sirohi. I could talk about it day and night more than people want me to. So getting an opportunity to talk about it like full swing is like amazing.
With that, we come to an end of this episode of the Wadhwani Viewpoint podcast with Gauri Malik, the founder and director of Sirohi. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Manali Shah, and I'll see you in the next one.